What is going on, guys? Hope you've been well. I've been alright. Got some good news, got some bad news. The bad news is I am 90% sure it is time to retire this beloved DJI Action 2. And if you don't know, I love my Action 2. Easily my favorite action camera. Super light, small form factor. I could put it on a 3.5-inch quad. I could put it on a 5-inch quad. I could put it on anything. I don't have to worry. But it is to the point where the battery life doesn't exist anymore. So I have to usually fly it in 2K just to get decent battery life out of it. The internal storage was always an issue with it. And then my back screen's cracked, so I could only configure it with the little module, or I could configure it in the app, but connecting to that app sometimes is a pain. So I started weighing my options and considering that it may be time to actually replace my trusty Action 2. In my opinion, I never flew the GoPro Session, the Session 5. A lot of people say that's the best FPV camera of all time. I never flew one, but to me, this is probably the best action camera that we've had, and I'm not sure what to replace it with. My options are put my gigantic GoPro on top of here, which is obviously going to weigh the quad down, which I don't really want. I could use the O4 footage, or I could cough up like $400 for a Osmo Nano. So I think today we're going to weigh the options of each choice and see what I think might be the best solution for myself. So honestly, not really too sure what that crash was about. I think one of the vines just got wrapped around the motor and jammed it up, but we will use that as a transition for why I'm considering replacing my Action 2 with another Action 2, because it is a really good camera, and the easiest part about getting another Action 2 would be not having to change the mount that I use on all of my quads. So I use mounts from a website called T4. Basically, you give him a couple dollars and he has this system where it's basically a repository of all these different frames and cameras, and you just piece together exactly what you want. So you'd put in Quadmula Siren F5 S2 is the frame. The camera that you want to make a mount for is the Action 2. Do you want to hold ND filters? Do you want it a little more forward so there's no props and views? And you basically configure the exact camera holder that you want. So if I stop using the Action 2, I would have to go through and remake all of my mounts for all of my frames, because I do fly all the quads that I have. So that would be a big pain. So just replacing my Action 2 with an Action 2 would alleviate that. The other thing is cost. You could get an Action 2 for around $150 on eBay, either slightly used, new, it varies, but you can find them for pretty cheap. But you are now buying a camera that is, I don't know how many years old this camera is, but it's got to be like a 5-6 year old camera system. So these problems that I'm having now with low internal memory, poor battery life, those problems are going to exist and possibly be even worse by replacing the camera with the exact same camera, because the battery's not going to get any newer. So that's what hesitates me from buying another Action 2, because I would just be prolonging my problems. But yeah, they're cheap if you could find one. A couple months ago when I was looking on eBay, there was like 8 listed. Looked a couple days ago, there was 1 listed. So it may become a hunt to find this camera come soon. The second solution that would be pretty reasonable would just be to, use the O4 Pro that's on the camera, you dummy. You got one of the best camera systems on your quad. Why are you not just using that footage? Well, there's a couple reasons. So on a 5-inch quad, not having that weight on top kind of makes the quad feel really floaty. Like this Siren F5 S2 with the Action 2, yes, it's 50 grams, but I could tell as soon as I take the weight off, it doesn't fly right. It's just a little bit too much power for the low weight of this quad. So that's why I prefer to fly with the Action 2 instead of using the O4 camera system. The other issue, if I was to use the video off of the O4, is I would have to fly it in 4K 60 instead of race mode like I normally fly it. So yeah, like I said, I fly in race mode because race mode has a fixed latency instead of 4K 60 where you get these random stutters. If I tried to post video in race mode, well, it would look like this. The video would be 1080p, 100 frames per second, and this is what you guys would be seeing. Yeah, it's not as nice as the 4K 60 that we normally see out of this air unit. So I would have to start flying 4K 60 to use this footage like I do on my smaller builds. The problem with that is then the latency becomes really noticeable. Again, I could probably fly around that, but I feel like you lose confidence when you're going to do a dive and then the video starts stuttering. So not really something that I want to deal with. The O4 Pro is great, but I use it as a just FPV system. I don't use it to record my video. So you don't want to fly with your O4 Pro. You're hesitant to get another Action 2. What do? Do you buy another video camera? Well, if I buy another video camera, yeah, I would have to reprint all of my TPU mounts, but that's not the biggest deal. I could do that. The thing is, what camera would I buy? I like the GoPro 11 Hero Mini, whatever the name is, GoPro Hero 11 Mini. I like that. It's a great camera, but again, it is really heavy. So that's kind of out. Also, it has a built-in battery. Yeah, on an older camera, I'm just gonna run into the same problems that I'm having with this Action 2, where eventually it's going to not hold a charge. So, newest camera on the market is the DJI Osmo Nano. I kind of like them, but not for that price. I believe they're like $400 something when I could buy an Action 2, like I said, for like 150 bucks. But I like them, they're nice. But again, right now my Action 2 with my ND filters and everything, I have a very good setup. I would have to completely start over, new ND filters, new mounts, new camera with, it's probably the same exact quality, if not a little bit better. I haven't looked into comparisons. I saw a lot of people that compared it to O4 Pro footage, but yeah, let me know what you think. Are you personally flying an Osmo Nano, or what are you using for your video system? Because I am tempted to just put my GoPro Hero 13 onto the quads again and call it a day, but it is kind of heavy for that. So let me know what you think. I am honestly leaning towards an Osmo Nano because having a newer battery than the old, sorry, pardon the noise, than the old Action 2s would be very nice. They also do come with increased storage capacity, but I don't know, I'm hesitant. I am truly hesitant to just go out and spend the $400 on an Osmo Nano. I am sorry for the background noise. I do live next to a farm that likes to throw parties on the weekend, but I will try to wrap this video up and hopefully we don't get copyright strike. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure what it is that I want to do to replace the Action 2, but I know I'm gonna have to do something soon because my Action 2 is also doing this thing now where out of nowhere it just won't record audio, and that's not good for business. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do something soon. I am leaning towards the Osmo Nano because it is a DJI product, and regardless of what other people say, DJI has never done me wrong, and I would be comfortable buying another one of their cameras, or many of their cameras. So that is a route I'm heavily... Ooh. Not mine. There we go. That is a route that I'm heavily leaning towards, is the Osmo Nano, and just obviously reprinting all my mounts, getting new ND filters. Not the end of the world. There are other routes that I could take. Like, I could get a run cam thumb, but I just don't like that those cameras don't have built-in batteries and you have to run them off your flight controller. But that's not the end of the world. I can manage with that. Again, image quality, and it looks like the Osmo Nano has the best image quality. So maybe I'll start saving my pennies and I'll pick up a Osmo Nano. Only time will tell what I do. But let me know what you guys are doing. I know for like 3.5 builds and smaller, obviously I would just run the O4 Pro. That's the best camera for the job. It's built in. The video's really, really good, and the variable latency isn't the end of the world on something like that because you're able to build the quad so light. So for me specifically on a 5-inch quad, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I feel like the solution is going to be an Osmo Nano. So let me know down below what you guys are running for action cameras, if you have any experience with the Osmo Nano, and just overall what you think. And as always, I will get back to you. But that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.